Hi, I'm Gene McLaughlin. I'd like to welcome you to Old Bridge Outlook with Mayor Owen Henry. On this program, the mayor chats with you about things taking place in the township and introduces you to some folks making things happen in the township. Mayor, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very good, Gene.
Mayor, I see that smile's a little broader, Harry. I think congratulations are in order. You're now a grandfather since last we met.
Yeah, for the first time, I've become a grandfather. The stork dropped off a precious little bundle, 8 pounds.
8 pounds.
Joseph Owen, named after his 2 great-grandfathers.
Okay.
Baby and mother are doing just fine.
Good.
And the Henrys are very, very happy.
And you're surviving so far?
So far, so good. So far, so good. Right now, all they do is a couple things, sleep, eat, and a couple other things.
Yes, they do a couple of other, yes, I know. I've been there. Okay.
Everything is good, and we're ecstatic.
And has your wife been out to Carter's yet, opening accounts and dressing this baby?
We have enough clothes for the baby till the age of about 12.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure that's
and a different one every day. Yeah. And just thank everyone publicly for the outpouring of congratulations.
Oh, it's great. Great. I think you'll have a ball.
It's a good time to be alive, right?
It is. Being a grandfather all day is great news.
I'm looking forward.
Yeah,
who knows? Maybe one day he'll follow in his grandfather's footsteps and be the mayor of the town.
That could be. Well, the one thing with grandchildren you'll find is when your own children are young, you're so busy with your own career, working to be president or working to be king or whatever. Now you have a chance to observe the children at a distance, at arm's length, and you see a whole different world with the grandchildren. But congratulations again.
Thank you.
Okay, if I can turn to more mundane things. Construction in the township, specifically Spring Valley Road. What's happening on Spring Valley Road?
Spring Valley Road, we had a project, I guess about a year ago, where the OBMUA, the Sewage and Water Authority, is installing a large sewer interceptor that runs from South Old Bridge, picks up a bunch of communities, sewerage, and ties them into their infrastructure. Right. And last year's project was a couple of miles long, and in that section, unfortunately, on the Spring Valley Road, there was a problem with the process that they used to install the pipe.
Okay.
So the pipe was damaged during the first initial installation phase in 2 places there, and also one that didn't interfere with traffic. But by the way, they parked the cars by the car deal on Route 18.
Oh, yes.
They had to go there and repair a piece of pipe, and they're now repairing a piece of pipe under Spring Valley Road that was broken during the original installation process. But fortunately, this is only going to be a couple of weeks. We were told maybe 2 to 3 weeks that the road would be closed. Those things happen. We have no control over it, Gene.
Right.
We need that line in operation. The sooner the better. People are relying on pump stations now for the sewerage. This will allow people to go to gravity. So it's big for the town.
Deal.
A big deal, large investment, and we got to get it on. We have to get it, online. So I know it's a little more inconvenience, and I'm sure everybody apologizes, for it. But I know going around it's a pretty lengthy detour.
Yeah. It is.
But I'm sure the MUA and their contractors will get that road back in service as soon as possible.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mayor. Is there any other construction that I'm not aware of?
We have a lot of things going on. A long-term project is over in Lawrence Harbor. We have that bridge closed.
Yes,
to traffic in Westerly. It's always open eastbound.
Right.
I know that presented some problems. There was a piece on the news about it the other day.
Yes.
Explaining the impact that it's having on some of our businesses in that shopping center. We're trying to accelerate the project. We're in communication with the Turnpike Authority, who is responsible for the project.
Right.
The bridge has to get redecked. There was a failure a few months ago where pieces were falling down on the parkway below.
Yeah, we don't want that.
We don't want that. No. So I know it's not a good situation, but it's something we have to face, as a community, and make the best of a bad situation. And lucky that, the Turnpike Authority is investing in their infrastructure. There's bridges around the state that they're just closing, shut it down. It's not an option here because there's an entrance and exit on each side of this bridge.
Yes.
And it's really 2 bridges, a bridge over the southbound and a bridge over the northbound.
Right.
So it's 2 bridges, two bridges for one. But we're trying to get them to speed that project up. It's a year. And get that bridge back in service as soon as possible.
Okay.
There's talks of other construction projects in town.
Yeah.
We're communicating with the DOT. Next year they hope to do Route 18, a reconstruction of the Route 18. It needs it.
Yes.
We're also talking to them about the reconstruction of the bridge that goes over Route 18 on 516.
Right.
That's going to be That's going to be another, best of the worst case scenarios. We'll try to maintain 2-way traffic. I don't know. We'll try to maintain 2-way traffic over there. If we can't, there's going to be an obvious detour.
Okay.
But we're working with everybody to try to.
Okay. Well, all we can do is keep everybody informed, I guess. Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, one piece of good news you mentioned off the air is that we're getting new police officers.
Yes, I'll be swearing in at Monday night's council meeting. 4 new officers. This will be the 8th officer I've sworn in as mayor.
Wow.
We're very proud of that administration. Prior to me becoming mayor, the last officers were sworn in 2006. So our rookies had about 6 or 7 years on the job. I've continually, as mayor, brought in new officers, and I think that's the way the department's supposed to be. Every year, a new, and just keep moving up the chain.
Sure.
Today's officers, tomorrow sergeants, next year's lieutenants, captains, and so on. This group is, if anyone watches the council meeting, I think everyone will be impressed by their credentials. We'll say a little bit about each recruit. It was a very competitive field, a little over 40 applicants for the positions. So it's a 10-to-1 ratio. And I think we picked 4 highly qualified candidates, and I think they'll be a great addition to the Old Bridge Police Department.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's reassuring to the residents,
Yes.
And public safety, always seems to be
Public safety
an
is,
important issue.
that's the first thing in the morning,
Right.
Gene. I
Yeah,
get up
I'm
and look
sure.
at my phone.
Yes.
And, I put it next to my bed at night. If it's ringing during the morning,
Yeah.
it's usually not a good
Not good
it's
news,
Not,
yeah.
It's not good news, but, knock on wood. I don't know if there's anything else I can go through.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
It just keeps coming. These 4 new, I think it'll be a great addition to the department. And we're going to keep it moving. I'm going to keep going, Gene. We're going to keep, rebuilding the ranks. And that allows for promotions, the whole public safety machine to keep it moving.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Mayor, speaking of safety, I think we could segue delicately to our topic today.
Yes.
Folks, if you've been watching the news lately, there's a great deal in the news about the wildfires in California and in the state of Washington, which brings to mind a good opportunity for us to introduce our guest today to talk about fire safety in the township of Old Bridge. And we're delighted to welcome in our fire marshal from District 2, Tom Gerity. Tom, welcome, and thank you very much for being here today.
Not a problem.
Tom, you have such a critical job. Before we get into it, can you give us a little of your background? How did you get into the firefighting business?
Well, I started back in 1974. My father was a firefighter, I guess about 12, 13 years back then. In one year, he had 100% attendance at fires, and that's really what has driven me. So I got about 42 years now under my belt. I still love what I do, even though at times we see the bad side of things, but we try to make the best out of them. We see a lot of tragedy on the fire side,
you do.
And we just got to work through that. We just try to make it as best as we can for the people who have the losses.
Well, as long as I've been here, you've been there doing your job, so the longevity is something to be said for that. Tom, if you would, help us out with the organization of the fire structure, the fire organization in township. How are people protected?
Okay, well, the township has what's called 4 fire districts. Lawrence Harbor, Madison Park is up by Gateway Shopping Center. Lawrence Harbor actually is east of the Garden State Parkway. Fire District 2 takes over from the Parkway to Ticetown Road, up Route 9 north, and covers that section. And South Old Bridge is everything from Ticetown Road south along Route 9 and below Ticetown.
Okay, could you just hold that
Sure
up
can.
So we could get a picture of it, Tom, and get an idea of what we're talking about? Well, Harry's getting a shot of this. A couple things. The areas generally, how big are the areas that each district
They
covers?
vary in size. Lawrence Harbor is approximately 2 square miles. Madison Park is approximately 1 square mile. Fire District 2 is probably about 17, 18 square miles, and the remainder is South Old Bridge. They're in a 21, 22 square mile area.
Okay,
So
thank
we
you.
have 42 square miles in the township. It's a big area.
Big area.
And when it hits the fan, we all kind of work as one if we can.
Yeah, okay. Tom, when we first started talking about you being here today, it was at the township meeting last time, the council meeting last time, you talked about rate increases.
Right.
And the question I guess I would have, Mayor, how is it funded? How is the township's fire function funded?
Through taxation. There's a fire district tax.
Right.
That's part of your overall taxes.
Yes, sir.
And that goes directly to the Board of Fire Commissioners, who then put it out for equipment. Usually it's the volunteer fire departments that are underneath the Board of Fire Commissioners. They oversee it, and they have fire protection agreements to take care of the areas that they cover.
And Mayor, this is part of that money that you don't control.
Right.
As the
Everyone
mayor.
should look at their tax bill. You'll see the line items, and the fire district is one of the line items.
Yes, sir.
that you pay, and it's different throughout the town. And you see real value there. When you see that number
Yeah.
that each person pays for fire
Yeah.
protection and the quality of fire protection we have here in Old Bridge, it's probably one of the biggest bargains on that.
Yeah, I
on that
imagine
piece of
it is,
paper.
yeah.
Our
As a percent.
volunteers,
Yeah.
our volunteers in this town are, I mean, second to none. I've seen them in action,
Right.
unfortunately, and there's never been a call that has gone unanswered here in Old Bridge. So I'm proud of the volunteers. We do have a few paid people here during the
Right.
daytime with coverage. We have to make sure that equipment gets to the scene
Right.
quickly. But to a town this size, to have to rely on a volunteer organization to provide the coverage and get the type of coverage that we do get, it's just, you can't say enough about them.
No, I think it's amazing, Tom. We had talked about this too. I read a number that said 69% of all the firefighters in the United States are volunteers.
That's accurate, yes.
That's incredible, to
And
the
when you
mayor's
think
point.
about it today, it's different today than it was even 20, 30 years ago. The average family, most people have two jobs.
Yes, sir.
The husband, the wife, they both have two
Yeah.
jobs to support that family. Everything with the cost and what it is, there is not a lot of time to volunteer.
Right.
We still have a couple hundred, I would say between 200 and 250 people that volunteer their time, depending on whatever that situation is. We just went through Hurricane Sandy, and firehouses had people in them for a number of days.
Right.
A number of days. Some guys never went home. When they went home, they were right back with clean clothes in a couple hours.
Wow.
And that's dedication.
That is dedication. What qualifications do you have to be a volunteer firefighter?
Well, the first thing that most departments do in Old Bridge is we send them to Middlesex County Fire Academy for a Fire 1 program, and that is about 192 hours now. From there, it can go to what we call Firefighter 2, which is a higher level of training and more specific stuff.
Right.
And then there's a Fire 3, and there's also offshoots of each one of them branches: motor vehicle, extrication, trench and confined space. There is a number of things that they can get into.
Right. How about the qualifications in terms of fitness? Is there some kind of standard for physical fitness? It's such a demanding job.
It is. Right now, you've got to pass a physical when you first come in, and some people, like the paid staff in District 2, have physicals every year, every other year, and that's a good thing, because we want to keep the highest percentage is, heart attacks, because
Is
of the
it
line
really?
of work we do.
Wow.
You put on 60, 70
of
pounds
gear.
worth of gear, and it's encapsulating that body. The heat wants to get out, and when you're working in a fire, you're working. It may be that you're doing it for 10 or 15 minutes or 20 minutes, but depending on what the situation is, if there's life involved, these guys go to no end. They'll go until the air runs out of their tank to try to do what they can to get that person to
Wow.
a safe place.
Are they protected in any way by insurance, or
Yes,
health
Board of
insurance,
Fire
or casualty
Commissioners, yes.
insurance, or
Board of
workman's
Fire
comp?
Commissioners holds insurance on all the volunteers.
So they're covered in
Yes.
case of
In case
tragedy,
something happens,
personal
absolutely. Yeah.
issues. Okay. Well, Tom, I hate to say this, but we've arrived at the point we're going to take our first break.
Oh,
Seems like
okay.
we just got started. Folks, please stay with us. We're talking with Tom Gerity, who is a fire marshal for Districts 1 and 2 here in the township. He's giving us a bit of an education on what it takes to be a firefighter in the township today, and we're going to talk in more detail about some of the other issues in a moment. Please stay with us.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Letting my friends online know I was quitting kept me on track.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
I kept on trying, learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
No matter how many times it takes.
We did it. You can too.
For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
I am a mother.
I am an entrepreneur.
I'm a journalist.
I am a singer.
A businesswoman.
I'm an artist.
An educator.
A sister.
An advocate.
A leader.
A queen.
I am a friend.
I am.
I am. I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am one of more than a million people living with HIV in the U.S.
We are not alone. Let's stop HIV together.
Get the facts. Get tested. Get involved.
Folks, welcome back to Old Bridge Outlook. We have a very timely guest today, our Fire Marshal, Tom Gerity, who is responsible for Districts 1 and 2 in the township. Tom, if we could pick up, you have so many duties. We talked off the air about it. I mean, you folks are involved with accidents, extrication, obviously fires, rescue, code enforcement. How do you fit it all in the pot?
Well, we do the best we can with what we got. Like I said, we send them Fire 1, Fire 2. We do in-house training that specializes, like you say, in hazmat and a bunch of other fields. When we go to work or when we go to a fire, when that alarm goes off, we don't know what we're going to be asked to do.
Right.
It's like going to a job that you just don't know what's going to happen that day.
Incredible.
And we have to deal with it. They got to be trained, and hopefully you have some seasoned people there that are there a couple of years that have gotten their training and perfected it over the years. And that we try to keep the new guys coming in and circulating them with the elder crew, so that everybody is on the same page. They can work together when we have an incident.
That's it. That's interesting. It really is. One thing about that, Tom, unfortunately, today, terrorism always in the news. Do you have terrorism training?
Yes, we do. That's actually part of Fire 1 now, because we not only have to be prepared with what the scene is going to give us, but there are people out there that look to hurt police officers, look to hurt firefighters, and they sabotage buildings in some cases. I won't go into what they can do to a building, but I can tell you that we try to watch each other's back on the scene just because of that. And we see it more and more. We don't see it so much in Old Bridge, but we've had a few cases where even the firefighters had to help police officers on some events in town that just happened to come up.
You know, Mayor, I find this incredible, that people would harm people that are trying to help them.
Yes.
Fire people, police officers, would deliberately sabotage a building. I just
You just had a firefighter shot in New York, right?
I saw that.
So if you go back into the 70s, you remember the Newark riots?
Yeah.
There was firefighters getting bricks and getting shot at there. You just never know anymore. You never know if there's a secondary device.
That just blows me away. It really does. I don't know if
It's
we're old or what, but it just really...
And I don't understand anything like that.
I don't understand that mentality.
Gene, since I became the mayor, and every incident or every event that I can think of, when I go back where I was called and summoned, say, maybe come here, I cannot think of an event that I went to that the fire department wasn't on scene. Whether it be a horrible accident on Route 9,
right.
Whether it be the shooting we had at the shopping,
at
the Pathmark, whether it be the Memorial Day Parade, whether it be Saltwater Day. I mean, the fire department plays a role in almost everything that goes on in town, whether it be a gas leak, whatever, the fire department's always there. And when I approach the scene, that's usually my first contact is with one of the chiefs. Hey, how's it going? And they debrief me and tell me, where the incident command scene, where to go. They point me in the right direction. So they just play such a critical role in everyone's safety here in Old Bridge.
And I think people should appreciate that, Tom. I really do.
I think they do, Tom. Everyone I spoke
to.
To that point, what's the biggest cause of fires? When people are listening in right now and they're listening about their fire safety and want to obviously be protected or protect themselves, what should they look out for?
Well, the highest thing on my list is, of course, clothes dryers.
It is.
The lint that builds up in clothes dryers. The simple thing to do is have it checked once a year. If you have a family of 2, as compared to a family of 6, how many loads of wash you do a day or a week? That all depends on how much lint you're going to have in that dryer, in that ductwork going out. It's something that probably costs, I don't know, today I would guess about $75 to get cleaned out. And it's well worth the money spent to do that. Of course, the more times you do wash, laundry, the more times you got to take care of that dryer. But there's a couple quick things you can do. We talked about it earlier, the bird cage on the outside of the house. If you just go to the outside of your house and look in where the exhaust is for that dryer, and you see lint building up there, you know you have a problem. If you go into your washroom where the dryer is located, if it's up against the wall, you see that wall, if you see lint on there, you know you got a problem. If you look behind it, you see lint there, you got a problem. You need to take care of that problem then, or you're going to get a visit sooner or later by your local fire department.
I don't think anybody wants that.
No, absolutely not. And it's easily rectified. It does cost $75 or $80, whatever it is now, but it's well worth it. What is a family's life worth? know?
Absolutely, I agree.
We see a lot of them each year.
Yeah. Hey, how about cooking fires?
That was the second thing I was going to mention. We see a lot of unintentional cooking. We have a lot of apartments in Old Bridge, and we seem to see it a lot in that type of environment, to where people put something on a stove and they'll walk away for whatever reason. It could be to go into a bathroom, to take medicine, to go check on a kid. As soon as you leave that stove, and if that stove is on, anything is possible.
Wow.
Especially if you're using grease or butter. We see a significant amount of fires that are, cooking related. And that's easily stopped too by just making sure somebody is in that kitchen keeping an eye on it.
Sure. And Tom, you mentioned off the air barbecue grills, propane.
Barbecue grills is another biggie. Each year we see a number of, if it's not a leaking grill where the gas is leaking, the way it's stored, the way it's put up against the house when people are cooking. What I would recommend is when people are cooking to have that grill at least a minimum of 10 feet away from the house.
The house, okay.
20 feet is better. 10 feet is right on a border, okay?
Right.
If you ever notice the heat that comes off the back of them units,
Yes.
it's meant to do that
Yeah.
because it traps the heat and it's got to go somewhere.
Right.
All right? If it's up against the siding of a house, vinyl's going to melt, whatever the material is there is going to get scarred. So you don't want it up against the house. A second thing is the propane tanks that are attached to these grills. Sometimes they're put on a deck where the sun can bake on them. That builds up pressure inside the tank. It's got a relief valve on there, and it will allow that gas to leak out of the tank so it does not have a problem. Okay? If it overpressurizes, it will explode. So the safety device is that relief valve, and that allows a certain amount of gas out.
Yeah, it's an interesting point.
If that grill is even not being used, if that's up against the house and it gets into a dryer vent or it gets into an open window that's into a kitchen, you find a source of ignition, next thing you know, you got a problem.
Wow.
The other issue with that is also the what's required to keep that grill operational and safety. They all have a rubber hose on it that connects the tank to the grill.
Yes, sir.
And if it's not cleaned properly, the grease drops down onto that rubber hose, of course burns a hole in the rubber hose or melts it, and the next thing you know is you got a gas leak in that rubber hose. So as an overall thing, a barbecue grill, we all love a good hamburger or a hot dog or whatever, a steak, right? But you got to maintain that and keep it away from your house.
Okay, Tom, thank you. Mayor, Tom was telling me that he's picked up some additional duties. You're now the OEM Coordinator.
That's correct.
What's involved in that?
Well,
Office of Emergency Management.
You name it, it's really related somehow to it. Typically, we get activated if there's more than 2 or 3. It might be police, fire, EMS. Could be a business owner, it could be state police, and it could be anything. It could be on the water, out in the bay. It could be anywhere. The more units that come together, the more coordination there is, and we try to coordinate.
Is that your job to coordinate the units that come together for emergency purposes?
Is to try to get the chiefs, the first aid captains, whatever equipment they need to the scene as quick as possible to give them whatever equipment or manpower they need to get the job done, whatever the task is.
Okay, and you're being helped by CERT, specifically TeenCERT?
Well,
what is that about?
TeenCERT is something new. We have a great CERT team. We're trying to still build on that CERT team. We'd like to get it up over 100 people. There's been a lot of people that have gone through CERT under Dominic Ciccio, who is my
we've had some
predecessor.
CERT interviews in here, Mayor, if you may recall.
Lieutenant Greenway has assisted in a big part of that program. But we are going to take it to the next level, I hope, this year. We're going to put TeenCERT into the high school. We're going to start with high school seniors.
Great idea.
To try to get them involved. And we think we will, because there's what's called the American Red Cross Club, where we've already utilized them students at Cheesequake Village, to where we distributed smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors.
Okay.
We tested their propane gas grills and for leaks, and it worked out real well. There was about 8 kids, and I think there were 17 or 18 CERT members and some OEM staff. we got half that complex back, and it's a good thing because I can tell them now that we'll be going back there shortly. We tried to do it in a little bit cooler weather. We really don't want them out there baking in the sun, but as it gets a little cooler, we're going to set a date and finish up Cheesequake Village.
Great way for the kids to give back.
Absolutely.
Well, to learn to give back,
Absolutely.
Mayor, you know.
And you're willing to.
Yeah.
They were more than willing to help us out. So
Okay.
we're hoping to take that TeenCERT program and hopefully pick up 20, 30 students from that and roll them right over once they get out of school right into the regular CERT team.
Yeah, that'd be great. You have a built-in core of volunteers.
Absolutely.
Great idea. Good thinking.
Well.
Okay. Tom, if you had a message to deliver to the residents, as the fire marshal who sees all of this type of thing going on, what message would you deliver to them? What do you want the people to really know?
Well, I think the things that I've already talked about are probably the 3 or 4 things that I would key in on. I would just suggest that when they go to sleep at night, to make sure that they have a working smoke detector in their home.
Right.
You cannot beat a working smoke detector. I can't tell you how many calls we go to where they're missing batteries, they're taken down. And it's, you know, a $5, $7 detector in some cases. Right now, there's some companies working with the Division of Fire Safety. They're actually giving out smoke detectors. If they need smoke detectors, we try to provide them, or batteries. That's how Cheesequake Village started.
Right.
With that, and we're going to try to extend that through the rest of the town, and we're going to try to build on that program as well. But a working smoke detector is what I think is probably the most important thing I could tell them today to do. And second thing to that would be a carbon monoxide detector. Because carbon monoxide, as you know, you can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it. But when it gets you, it gets you big time.
Get you big time, yeah. Okay. Well, Tom, I want to thank you for being with us today, but I don't want you to go right away because I want to just bridge this to Old Bridge Day.
Okay.
Folks, we've got a couple of big days coming up here in the township, big dates that you should put on your calendar. On Friday, September 11th, we're going to have the annual ceremonies commemorating the 9/11 tragedy. It'll be held out in the memorial area behind the library, 6 p.m. that day. Urge you to be there. It's a great ceremony, a great opportunity to honor those people who lost their lives that day. And coming back to Tom, on Old Bridge Day, September 26th, Saturday, Tom will have a great display out there. All the equipment he talked about today, if you want to get over and get an additional education, we'll be there to film it and pick up what we didn't talk about today. And we urge you to put that on your calendar as well. And we'll be talking more about that before 9/26 comes up. Mayor, thank you. And
thank you, Jim.
And lots of luck with Joseph Owen.
We'll bring him to Old Bridge Day.
Bring him to Old Bridge Day and have him make a guest shot here on the next program.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Tom, again, many thanks for being with us. You did a great
My
job.
pleasure.
And keep up the good work. As I said to you before, I don't know how you people do your job. I know I couldn't do it.
It's a good team.
It's an awesome job you people do. Just the bravery alone just inspires me. It really does. Folks, this has been Old Bridge Outlook for this time. I'm Gene McLaughlin. I want to thank you for watching. Stay tuned for our other programs, and we'll see you next time. Take care.